Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to talk about the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Battle Scroll Gods and Heroes. The Battle Scroll is effectively the data slate for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. It's the new name for the update they're bringing out every so long, whether it's 3 or 6 months. We don't really know all that much, but today we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about, I guess, some of the things that were done, some of the things that were missed, and so whether or not we thought this was a good FAQ. And so let's start by taking a look at the overall summary. Now, this battle scroll is really cool because it means you don't have to go over and look at a whole bunch of different rules. This is a really good little summary piece. You can go into each individual FAQ if you want and find some more particular information, but this gives us the gist of what we want, and I've read through them all so we can talk about them all here. So the first change we see is heroic actions, heroic recovery. This is pretty much changed so that it can't be used while within 3 inches of an enemy unit. If you're in combat, no heroic recovery. I like this change. It's solid. This stops people healing heaps in combat. Stops some of the units that can, heal 2d3s, so you can at least knock them down to a d3 heal. Things like Glockin and all the new Nurgle big boys that can heal in combat, or even affect some units it's running, like the Steam Tank and stuff like that. But pretty good stuff. I like the change. We then saw Unleash Hell get a change as well, where you can use this command ability after an enemy unit finishes a charge move. The unit that receives the command must be within 6 inches of the enemy unit, so no longer 9 down to 6, and more than 3 inches from all other enemy units. Models in that unit receive the command that are within 6 of the target unit can shoot in that phase, but when they do so, you're at -1. So now not only is it within 6 inch, it's now only models within that 6 inch range as well can actually shoot, which is cool. That's a nice solid change. So the only way you're really probably ever going to get full units shooting of like 20 or something is if they are the unit being charged themselves, which isn't a bad thing. But also the interesting thing about this as well is if your opponent's got a more spread out unit, you can definitely tag one end to potentially stop the other half of the unit, or some models in that unit being able to unleash hell. It's a solid change. I don't know if it's going to fix some units being really hard to charge, like Sentinels and stuff like that, but it is a good change. And lastly, the other sort of main change we saw was the Amulet of Destiny changing from a 5+ to a 6+ ward. Good solid change. It now makes the Amulet of Destiny nowhere near as good, and really makes some of the other artifacts become a lot more viable. Hopefully we'll start to see a load more different artifact options instead of every other character +5 having an Amulet of Destiny. So then we go into these, and this is pretty cool. It gives you sort of like a major sort of rundown of what's happening. And so the first one, we've got Alariel and Marathi. Both of them now know their respective laws in their entirety, in addition to other spells they know. So this is pretty cool. So really, really like this, that the fact that both of them get all their magic. It's just nice, solid, good update. It does say in addition to other spells they know. So this could be interesting. Does this mean they're able to pick some other spells? But yeah, this is pretty cool. I like that both these wizards are now going to get. Marathi becomes a lot more useful because she needed this, really. But, she is a god. Puts her on the same sort of level. All the gods know all their spells. Happy is a common sort of thing we're now seeing. Then over to Destruction. Kragnos is the big change over in Destruction. So he gains the Avatar of Destruction and the End of Empire's abilities. And he's also got a 6+ ward thanks to his Shield Inviolate ability as well, which is pretty nice. So Kragnos has definitely gone up a little bit in his usefulness, which has been really nice. Like the 6+ ward is a massive change for him going into a bunch of stuff. So really, really happy to see this for Kragnos. I hope we get to see the big boy on the tables because he's an absolutely amazing model, and it's just disappointing that you don't see him on the table enough, which is, I guess, the big sad thing for me about Kragnos. And so we've got his 2 new rules. First of all, the Avatar of Destruction. So if the effect of a spell or ability would slay this model without any wounds or mortal wounds being caused by the spell or ability, he takes d6 wounds instead. And then he's got the End of Empire's ability as well, where if friendly destruction unit hold within 12 inches of this unit, you can attempt to charge with that unit if it is within 18 inches of the enemy unit instead of 12 inch. In addition, when making a charge roll for a friendly destruction unit within 12 inch, roll 3d6 instead of 2d6, so you give some extra charge range. I guess the only other thing to talk about Kragnos as well is that he's now got the Mightiest Mates Radius rule, but he's got his own particular version where he counts as 30 models on his top bracket and he drops down to counting as 18 on his lowest bracket. Last thing as well to talk about Kragnos is the Warmaster ability. So Warmaster is a rule that applies to him, Archaon and Nagash, where you can sort of put them into any one of those allegiances under that Grand Alliance that you so wish. However, the big change to that is that they no longer benefit from allegiance abilities at all. This means that when we talk about others, like Nagash no longer gets a 6-up death save from any of the other sources, so when he has his 4-up ward against mortals, he doesn't have an actual save against an extra like ward save against things like that. And Archaon can no longer use things like Fate Dice and all of that thanks to losing the Disciples of Tzeentch keyword. And that was something, as we talk about Chaos now, that they put into all the Chaos, where both Maggotkin and Disciples of Tzeentch added those keywords into the Allegiance abilities, which is really important. So this means that all of them sort of work like how Maggotkin and how Hidden Knights of Slaanesh work, where the units coming into the faction through Coalition or Warmaster don't get that keyword and or only have like Tzeentch as a keyword. No. Disciples of Tzeentch, and so this sort of does restrict. Archaon did get a cool change where his By My Will ability affects all Chaos units instead of Slaves to Darkness. Archaon no longer benefits from Allegiance abilities, we've been over that. And that's the same as well. So they're all just, it's all just a nice bit of tidying up, going with how they've made the new books sort of work with those Coalition units. We then get Nagash as well, where he's got the Death Magic Incarnate ability, which is a command ability he can use, so this replaces old reroll 1s and stuff like that. He adds 1 to the ward saves of that unit until the end of the phase. Now, he can choose in Ossiarch Bone Reapers to multi-use this singular command ability, which is pretty cool. This really does make Bone Reapers quite nice. His Supreme Lord of the Undead ability now affects abilities that return slain models to friendly death units, and Nagash no longer benefits from Allegiance abilities other than spell or enhancements, of course, thanks to all of this. The other big change too is Archon of Black actually got the Ossiarch Bone Reapers keyword, and that whole thing of like Lords of Death, and with Arcane and Nagash being able to take in Bone Reapers is gone. Arcane is now officially an Ossiarch Bone Reaper unit, which is pretty nice. Now this is the end of the main changes. Now for me there's a couple of issues here with the main changes. First of all, I do think they hit a few of the issues. Archaon being an issue, they brought Kragnos up to see more of that big boy, and they did really tackle 3 big things: Unleash Hell, healing and survivability of characters in the Heroic Recovery, and the Ward Save, which again targets the survivability and of characters. So they did make some really good changes. For me though, they miss some key things. So there's a lot of stuff they brought up here. Well, not a lot of stuff they brought up here. Really, Kragnos and Alaro and Marathi are the only ones going up. And they didn't really bring up any armies. And we'll get a checking in the points cost, but don't get too excited for points cost because they didn't really change an awful lot in many armies with points costs for me. I think this is a little bit of an issue. While we saw some really good changes here, I don't think it was a perfect FAQ by any means. But let's have a look. So first of all, Cities of Sigmar. We saw Iron Drakes here go up in points, which is, not bad. I'm not upset with Iron Drakes going up. They're by far the best unit. This hopefully should create some diversity between them and other units at 170, though not likely. And we also saw pretty much all our monsters come down, which is pretty cool. Like all the monsters coming down, both Griffin and both Black Dragon models coming down, which is pretty solid. Daughters of Cain saw Bloodstalkers go up to 180, which is massive. So that's a big change for the Daughters of Cain, going up 10 points. But once again, they're not the worst one. I like they were probably more properly coined for a mortal wound shooting unit than some of the other ones in the game. The Avatar of Cain came down to 120, and the Slaughter Queen as well, she came down to 110. So nothing really big changed. The same could be said for like Fire Slayers, Ideneth. KO had a nice change here. I do like the Sky Warden change for KO. With those 2-inch range on their spears, I think a decent unit of Sky Wardens could be a really interesting sort of option. Lumineth saw probably some of the more effective changes, I think, across the game. So we saw the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain go down to 355, so we're bringing down the big stone mountain boys. Light of Eltharion as well is now 220, down from 250, which is pretty cool. And then Sentinels now up to 170 from 150, so another 20-point increase on them. It's a good change for Sentinels, but I probably still would have put them up another 20 points if I'm being honest. Seraphon, we saw some changes as well, the Bastillodons and all of that. So we saw, first of all, the Ark of Sotek drop with the Seraphon and down to 165, but then we saw an increase to 250 for the Solar Engine. Both the Riptactyl lots went down, Pterodons as well went down, and then Salamander Hunting Packs went up to 140, which was a pretty steep increase. So now they're starting to cost quite a lot for a Salamander Hunting Pack. One single Salamander being of 140 points is pretty big. Stormcast Eternals, not an awful lot changed. A lot of the characters just sort of changed around. Sylvaneth we then saw as well. Changes to most of the big trees is the big change for Sylvaneth. So the Tree Lord now being 180 from 190. Drycha now dropping down to 315. The Ancient down to 280. And Durthu to 325. Death, we saw the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon go to 430. We saw, a few changes here and there for Death, but nothing really massive on the whole. And the Gloomspike Yits, we might as well just not talk about. This is an army for me, one of the major ones that really needed some big points changes and just received absolutely nothing. No essential units. The fact that we don't have an FAQ for Gits is just horrendous. I think this is one of the biggest myths. It's clear that their, style of play doesn't work. And yeah, they may have a battle tome coming out soon, but I don't think this is still the right way to go about it. If you know there's a battle tome coming out, let's put out some pre-beta rules. If you know you're changing how some of the abilities and you're spreading the net, which is what you should be doing with Gits, rather than giving them a whole bunch of -1 to hit, they should have a wider net of debuff abilities. So they should have, -1 to wound, -1 attack, -1 movement, -1 to pile in. All those sort of abilities should be spread across the war scrolls. Rewrite those war scrolls. This is why we have online digital updates. You're already giving us the book for free on the app, so why not just pre-beta test? And you can change these again later if that's how it goes. But I really feel for Gits. I don't think they received absolutely anything in this at all. Ogres saw not a lot change as well. Same with the Auric War Clans, although we saw Gold Grunters up 20 and Godrak up as well. I'm not sure why Godrak went up and the actual Maw Crusher didn't, because the Maw Crusher is more likely what you're seeing than Godrak. The Man Crusher Gargant Mega Mob 475. Now this is another one for me that's an issue. Gargant saw absolutely nothing change for them. We gave Kragnos the Mighty a Make Radio rule, and we gave him a wounds table. Why did the Gargants not get the same thing? For me, that was a massive miss. They fixed so many things, but Gargants didn't get a fix. I mean, Seraphon increases to Bastillodons and Salamanders. Luminesaur increases to Sentinels. We saw the Bow Snakes even go up as well. Minor. Why did we not see the Mega Gargant sort of change, or some abilities change for the Mega Gargant? Something done to address an army that has a sort of guaranteed 4-1 win rate at events. For me, that was a massive miss, and this is really where we start getting into misses. Beast of Chaos, again, just a big miss on a whole bunch of stuff. We saw things go down that weren't apparent to anything. Dragonose, Bulgor, Shaggoth, Gorgon, and Sagor. No one's taking a Gorgon or Sagor anyway. Like, why do we not decrease like Bestigor and stuff like that and actually make them a proper Horde faction? Yeah, I really don't like the changes to Beast. Blades of Corn, we saw, and not much. Zinch, we did see Horrors go to 250, which is really, really solid. But then Hedonites as well, once again, we saw very minimal decreases. Like 4 units got changed. 1 including Slangor. Like, Slangor are just so bad, no points changed. There could be 30 points and they'd still probably be absolutely useless. And so Slaanesh just didn't get the changes it needed points-wise. I feel we're still overcosted for the vast majority of the army. This isn't like a solid change for them. We then saw Skaven, Slaves, and the multi-faction units. We did see some increases across the board here, which is really solid. But for me, it's like missing. Where's Marathi's point change? You know, for me, like, the points is the disappointing part of this. I like everything they did up here. Yeah, they missed some stuff up here, but this is some really good changes game-wide. I would have liked to see, you know, the Mighty Max Radio table for Gargants change to the same thing that Kragnos has. But yeah, they did. Yeah. All in all, like, this FAQ, this first part here, this first page is fantastic. And then we get down to points, and it's not good. Like, there's very little in here that's positive for any army. I think, you know, a couple of points here and there isn't going to change the game, isn't going to change a faction, and decreasing and targeting wrong units for armies is not good. But like this part here, fantastic. Cannot say that enough. What are your thoughts on the FAQ though? Like, when we were first looking at it and like we saw all the bits and pieces here, we were really excited that we saw all of this stuff at the first, and then the points sort of left, I guess, because we saw that second, that sort of brought us all down. And yeah, my local gaming group went from quite positive to a little bit negative at the end there with the points changes. It wasn't perhaps the best thing that they've done. But I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on it. What do you all think of the battle scroll and all the changes and updates to Warhammer Age of Sigmar? Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. And also, why not drop us a comment below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Cinderful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel more and in another way, you can do so either by supporting on Patreon or YouTube members. You can do either of these by following the links in the video's description, and as a special thing for everyone who does, we'd like to give a shout out first of all to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domer, Mark Harvey, James Cater, and Samuel. And a special shout out as well to our YouTube members: Greenrich Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lockloric, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, and Sean Scott. Lastly, a special thank you to, first of all, Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel you can see here, and to Xmorphic, who does all the amazing background work for our Discord server, making sure it all works nice and properly over there. Thank you all for watching once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.